everyone, my name's Michelle and this is my channel Sewing Bunny, and thank you for joining me in my video today, which is sharing with you my 2023 Make 9. So if you are unfamiliar with the Make 9, pretty sure most of you probably know about it, but it is basically 9 things that I want to make for this year. Now, I've seen so many different versions of people's Make 9s, and it's not just sewing. It can be, you know, knitting, sort of other crafts, anything like that. I personally like to do 9 sewing patterns that I want to make for the year, but I've seen other people do, you know, garment types, using fabric, or a combination of different hobbies. So for instance, you can have someone who's got a Make 9 and it'll have maybe a garment, it might have like a quilt, it might have a knitting project, it might have an embroidery project on there. It could be a whole variety of things. And I know it's not for everyone. Some people don't want to be kind of like, well, I don't want to decide what 9 things I'm going to make at the beginning of the year because I might not want to make those later on, which is absolutely fine. For me, I like having a Make 9 because I just find it gives me a little goal for the year. And also I do find sometimes, you know, there might be sort of like months where I'm so kind of bogged down with how many patterns there are out there, so many things I want to make. And sometimes I just look at my Make 9 grid and I think, oh, what haven't I made? Is there anything on there that I really want to focus on? Because usually with my Make 9s, they're usually patterns that I've wanted to make for some time. And I try and just kind of pop them in there thinking I'd really like to make them at some point. So just for me, I find it helpful. So before I share my grid of my Make 9, I'll let you know what I'm wearing. I've got 2 Me Mades on today. I'm wearing a t-shirt which was a pattern, I think of the Ultimate Tee, which came in a sewing magazine by Thread Count. You can't buy it as a standard sort of, you know, online sort of pattern, but I think you can get it off like eBay and Etsy. And then I'm wearing it with my Helen's Closet York pinafore, which I did bind with some gorgeous specky seamstress bias binding. I do love this kind of sort of navy and mustard sort of combo. Okay, so on to my grid for this year's Make 9, which I will insert here for you. Now, what I like to do with my Make 9 is I like to split my grid into 3 separate lines. So I kind of like to have almost like themes for kind of each line. That's just how I like to do things. So I will start from top left going across and then down to the next line going across, and so on. Now, first off, all of these patterns are patterns that I've got in my stash already. So that is one thing I wanted for this year's Make 9, is I didn't want any patterns that I'm going to have to buy in my Make 9. I need to use what I've got. So yeah, that was my first rule for myself, is my Make 9 would be everything that I've already got. Now, as I mentioned, I like to split them into lines. So I will explain each line first, just very briefly, and then I'll talk about all the patterns individually. So the first line, that is patterns that I've already made and I want to make again. So I will explain a little bit more for each pattern, but that's kind of the first line. The second line is patterns from my, I guess, big 4 sewing stash. Sometimes, you know, I do forget about the big 4 patterns, and I do have a lot of them in my stash. So I have picked out 3 from my sort of big 4 patterns there. And then the bottom line is patterns from sewing books. Again, I have quite a few sewing books and I really don't think that sometimes I use them as much as I should. So yeah, they are 3 patterns from sewing books. Okay, so first pattern is the Frida blouse by Atelier Jupe. Now, I love this pattern. I've only made it once, and since I've made it, I've wanted to make it again and again and again, and I just haven't got round to it. The version that I made I actually made it during watching one of Rachel from Stitched Up, her live sort of sew-alongs, and I really enjoyed the whole experience of that. I will link her video down below in the description box if you haven't seen it. But it's great just having someone kind of sewing along with you, and because it was live, there was like loads of chat and everything. And I really enjoyed it. I didn't finish it in the live, so I finished it off afterwards. But since I've made it, I have worn it to work so many times. It's my favourite blouse like to wear. I absolutely love it, and I really do want to make it again, and I think that if I do make it again, I will wear it a lot because I really like the style. I will insert a picture of the one that I did make because just in case you kind of want to see that. So yeah, I really did want to make that again because yeah, that one, as I say, I just know that I will wear it a lot. So next up on that line for patterns that I have made already is the, sorry if you could hear Bentley just meowing then, that's my cat. Yes, the second on the line is the Megan Nielsen Acacia knickers. So again, I have made those before, but I've only made them in, I guess, one batch. So I kind of did it where I cut out, I think it was about 5 different sets, and I just sewed them all up at the same time. And it was brilliant. I got to use my fabric scraps and I got some really fun, funky underwear using some of my jersey scraps from sort of other projects and things. And they are really comfortable knickers for me, and I don't know why I haven't made more. I have so many jersey scraps that I've set aside to use for this pattern, and I haven't done it. Also, this pattern is free as well, so it's a brilliant one to have. And yeah, I just think I need to make some more. So I would like to at some point batch cut a whole load of my fabric scraps to make those knickers. And then last on that line is the Coco Wubba Crafts honeycomb dress. Now, I have made this dress twice, but both dresses unfortunately are no longer in my wardrobe, and I'll explain why. Because the first one I made, you may recognise if I pop the picture here, it is the first picture of my title sort of music video thing. And I love that honeycomb dress. It was the first one I made. It was in a chambray and it was sleeveless. Oh, I've worn it to death basically. It's frayed, it's worn, it's just, yeah, it's not good. The fabric, it was kind of like, I think it had a bit of polyester in it as well, so it wasn't probably the nicest of chambrays. It was a bit cheap and cheerful, but I wore it to death. I love it. But I have unfortunately had to pop it in the textile recycling because yeah, it's just not as nice and as fresh and all that as it once was. It's looking very worn now, and I say there's just threads coming off it and everything, so it's had to go. The second honeycomb dress that I made was a gorgeous yellow double gauze one, really nice, but I just don't wear it, and I think it is because even though I love wearing like mustards and yellows, it was just, I think, too kind of overall yellow for me. I was finding it difficult to kind of match things with it, and yeah, I just wasn't wearing it. I loved the style, I loved how comfortable it was, but I wasn't wearing it. So when I was doing my wardrobe clear out, I decided that that was one that I was going to donate. So yeah, that one it is going to be going to a new home. I've actually got someone who's actually wanting that dress from me, so I am giving that to a friend, and yeah, so at least I know it's going to a good home. But why I've put the honeycomb dress on my Make 9 is because I want to recreate my first love of my honeycomb dress, a chambray sleeveless honeycomb dress. I just want to make that dress again because of how much I loved it the first time round. I'd like to make it again. So that's why I've put it on there. Oh, quick sip of tea. Right, going on to the second line. So the second line is my big four, or whatever you want to call them, commercial patterns. So these are ones that I have had in my stash for a while. I haven't made these before, and I would really like to actually make some. So I do actually have the patterns with me here as well, so I will obviously insert pictures of them as well. But the first one is the Vogue V9084. So I will, as I say, put the picture in here as well. But this one I have wanted to make for a while because I do have a very similar style of this in my ready-to-wear wardrobe. Which is basically it's like sort of this one with the dipped hem, like this peplum, but it's kind of sleeveless. It's got like a big chunky zip at the front. It's kind of black with like a cream lace sort of overlay. It's very kind of going out top, and I really like the style. I think it is so nice just for my body shape. I just think it's so nice how it kind of goes down, and then you get this sort of peplum dipped hem, and I just think it really does look nice just with my body shape. It kind of just makes my hips look kind of nice, makes my waist look sort of nice, and I just really like it. And it's not one that I can necessarily copy because, yeah, just the style of it, but this is very, very similar if you were to basically make it, you know, sleeveless. But the only downside with my ready-to-wear one is that it is sleeveless. And sometimes I don't want to have to wear something, you know, which is sleeveless, because you can't really like pop a cardigan on or anything like that with this sort of style, with like this dipped peplum. So I wanted to make for this either this view with the short sleeves or this view with the long sleeves. So this view is basically the peplum but without the dip on there, and I think it's a bit fuller. I'm not really interested in this sort of version, but one of these versions I think will be the one that I go for. Or I could do kind of a mixture of the two, kind of actually, rather than do a short sleeve or long sleeve, I could do a, you know, like a half sleeve or a 3/4 or something, which would be quite nice. So yeah, that's why I want to make that one, because yeah, the one that I've got for my ready-to-wear wardrobe is one that I love, and I'd like to create a version which I'll again be able to wear a lot more often because it'll have some sleeves. And yes, I'm really happy with that one. I can't wait to make that. Then the next pattern is the Simplicity S9385. So this is a jumper pattern. So I wanted something, you know, really practical in my Make 9, or I've got a few practical things, but I love wearing jumpers. You know, I think my wardrobe, because I've recently been doing like a wardrobe sort of organisation and everything, is how often I wear jumpers. You know, thick jumpers, sort of like light sweater knit sort of jumpers. I just love jumpers. So I had this one in my stash. And I really like it because it's got like a sort of puff sleeve and sort of like a gathered sleeve at the bottom as well. Now, I'm not sure if I'd make this version that the model's wearing because it's got this like long bit here. I do have a cardigan that's actually similar to this sort of shape, obviously open at the front, and I do like it, but I can't sort of roll my sleeves up, you know, if I'm doing the washing up or anything like that. So I'm thinking of making, which is version B, maybe this one, because this has got slightly shorter sleeves on there, or version D, which is not the full length sleeve, but again, it's kind of like 3/4 sleeve. I don't know if I do the roll neck or whether I just do the standard sort of crew neck, but there's lots of options with that. And I do have some sort of like sweater knits that I think would go really nicely with that. I think more sweater knits than like sweatshirtings or French terries, because it has got sort of quite a bit of gathering there. I think a sweater knit would just be quite nice. It won't be really bulky on the sleeve. So yeah, I'm thinking of that one, which I think I will get a lot of wear from. Oh, something just fell down the back of the table. I've got, if you've been following me about my organising thing with my sewing room, I've still got stuff everywhere. I'm getting there, slowly but surely. And then the last pattern for that line is the Butterick B6679, which is this one. So the version that I want to make from this one is this one here. I'm not really a sort of pencil dress kind of person. I don't think I've got the sort of proportions, I think, of my body that suits like a pencil sort of shape, just in my opinion. I personally prefer something very fitted at the top, and then kind of a nice sort of skirt that either sort of skims over the tummy or is a bit flared, like a sort of fit and flare, I guess. So I don't want to make the sort of the like pencil ones, but this one I really like the look of. Now you might not be able to see the details too much because this one's very floral, but if I turn it round to the back so you can see the line drawings, and I'll bring it up close if I can, so you can see here it is the slightly flared skirt, and then you have this panel in the middle, which again, I'm not sure if you'll be able to see from the versions here. So it kind of sits just under the bust. So you kind of get that panel, which I think is really nice. And then the top bit here, again, I'm just flicking this back and forth, might be able to see on this version here, it's actually a little knot at the front, which I think is really pretty. And the straps on this, you know, they're not really thin, they're not really thick either, but I think it would be really nice to be able to wear if you want to with a bra. I mean, I tend to wear strapless bras in the summer because I find I'm kind of all right with them. But yeah, I just thought it would be really nice. And this version here, I mean, I'd probably make something very similar to this one, like this really nice, pretty floral one, because I just think this would be a dress that I could get so much wear out of in the summer, because I do like wearing dresses in the summer. And when I was going through a lot of my ready to wear clothes, I noticed that I probably am more drawn to jersey dresses than I am woven dresses. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love a woven dress, you know, like a viscose dress and all that. I love them. But for summer, I like to have sort of like jersey dresses and things. Maybe it's just because, you know, they're stretchy and, you know, they're maybe a bit more like easy to wear, I guess. So I thought that one would be a really pretty dress to add to my me-made wardrobe. So that's why I picked that one. And then finally on to the last line of my grid, which is patterns from sewing books. So I'm going to start off with the first one, which is, this is from the Beginner's Guide to Sewing with Knitted Fabrics from Wendy Ward. I have had this book for ages. I think it was probably one of the first sewing books that I bought because I just wanted to make lots of sort of jersey things, because I thought jersey was actually going to be easier than woven when I first started sewing. Yeah, maybe not quite, you know, right on that respect, but yeah, I did make a cardigan from this book, and yeah, it was actually quite like nice and straightforward to make. And there are some really nice patterns in this book, but I think I've kind of not looked at it too much because maybe the patterns are quite basic, and because, you know, I've kind of learned a lot more with my sewing, maybe I just haven't reached for it. But there was a pattern in here that I have mentioned a few times on my channel that I have wanted to make, and I just haven't got round to it. So that's why I want to pop it in my Make 9. And it is the Derwent trousers. So these are Ponte trousers. So I mean, some of the pictures, they're not maybe the best ones, but I will kind of bring this a little bit closer for you there. So they are like a wide leg trouser, And I do like a high waist, and you can probably see from some of these other pictures that they are quite high-waisted. So I think that will suit my style a lot. And because they're ponte, I think they're just going to be really nice and comfortable to wear. And I do want to make them in like a navy or a charcoal ponte Roma, I think. Maybe not black. I mean, I could do black, but you know, I just kind of think black sometimes, all like the fluff and everything kind of sticks to some black, whereas I think maybe like a charcoal or a navy would be really nice, and it means that I'd be able to wear it to work and everything, and I just think that would be, you know, secret pajamas at work, wearing sort of, you know, kind of ponte trousers. And they're quite a simple design, you can probably see there, and you can see how sort of high-waisted they are. I mean, they do have like a facing where you kind of like tuck them sort of in and everything. But yeah, I just thought that that would be a really nice one to add to my Make 9 and to include some trousers in there as well. And then next on that line is a pattern from a book that I actually quite recently got. It was one that I got for my birthday last year, and yeah, it's one that I'd asked for. And it was the Gertie Sews Vintage Casual. Now, I'm not like, you know, a vintage sort of dresser or anything like that, but I do like things when they have a little nod to vintage. So that's why I wanted this book. Because some of the stuff in this book, like the patterns and variations, are so wearable for me. And the one thing that I would really like to make, again, it's quite a basic one, but I just want to make things that I think I'm going to, you know, really wear. I mean, I could have done my Make 9 of just, you know, really fun, exciting patterns I want to try, but I really want to try and do wearable things that I'm going to get a lot of use from. And this one is the Knit Sweetheart top. And as you can probably see from there, it's a little tiny cap sleeve t-shirt with this little ruched bit at the front and this lovely shape neckline. It's so pretty. And I'm not sure if I would make necessarily that version. I might do, but the one that I really like is, if I can turn the page, is the sleeveless version. And I love what Gertie has done here, is she's done it in black. I mean, I just think, how wearable is that going to be if I was to make it in like a black or a navy or something like, you know, something quite wearable that would mix with everything else. I love this shape because even though it's sleeveless, it still has a really nice shape here, and you can really see that nice neckline from, you know, even with it being a plain. I mean, the other one had a stripe, so you could really see the detail, but I just think that's so pretty. So I think I might copy Gertie there and do maybe like a black version for it, because that would just go with everything, and I don't have anything like that in my wardrobe with that sort of shape neckline. So yeah, I think I might copy her with that. So yeah, and it would be nice to actually make something from this book, because I haven't made anything from this book yet, so that would be the first thing that I have made. And then last on my grid for the Sewing with Books or sewing patterns from books. Now, this is a book that I have got my money's worth from. I love this book. It's my favourite sewing book, I think. It is the Tilly and the Buttons Make It Simple. I think I've made all but one of the patterns from this book, I think. And yeah, I really like this. So I don't need to even find which pattern it is, because it is the one on the cover. So these are the Sapphire or Sapphire, I don't know how you pronounce them, I call them Sapphire, trousers, but it's the hack version to make them into this lovely jumpsuit. So I have made the Sapphires before. I've made them as pyjama bottoms, and I've made them as sort of like jersey sort of trousers as well, but I've never done the hacked version to make it into the lovely little jumpsuit there. And I've seen so many versions of this over on Instagram with people doing this hacked version, and I really want to make it. I really, really do want to make it. Now, I'm extremely tempted to make, you know, a really bright floral or something like that version, but I think I'm going to try and be practical, and I'm going to try and do maybe a plain, or maybe not necessarily a fully plain, but maybe like a sort of a, maybe like a polka dot or something like that, you know, quite small ditzy print maybe, that will just go with a lot of things. So I'm going to try and not be too loud and colourful with it, which is, I do want to make a loud and colourful version probably as well, but I think my first one that I'll make will be quite a practical version, and if I like it and I get lots of wear out of it, then maybe I'll do some fun versions from it as well. I'm not 100% sure if I will do this full wide leg version. I might taper it in just slightly, just for my liking, because I don't like really wide leg. I don't mind a bit of a wide leg, but because these are sort of like, they're higher than sort of ankle, but you know, because they are designed to be slightly shorter, I just think for me, I'm just not sure if I might just cut off a little bit of that width, but we'll see how we get on. I think I'm going to make it in quite a drapey fabric, so actually it might not matter too much if I make it in a really drapey fabric, like a viscose or a viscose twill, something like that maybe. But yeah, I want to join the club because so many people have made this, and yeah, there's no fastenings or anything like that. You just tie it up with a belt or this waist tie that Tilly's done here. So yeah, I just think, you know, I have used this book so much, and yeah, that's one of the sort of hacked versions that I haven't actually tried yet. So yeah, I can't wait to try that. So that was everything on my Make 9 grid for 2023. Let me know what you think. Have you made any of those patterns? I'd love to hear if you have, and you have any like hints and tips for me, or do you make a Make 9, or do you not make a Make 9? You know, if you don't like the Make 9, that's absolutely fine, but it's just really nice hearing from everybody and hearing your comments. If you have liked this video, then please do give me a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed already, it would be lovely if you could. So wish me luck with my Make 9 for 2023, and I will speak to you very soon in my next video. Bye.